Good morning, boys and girls. And we're back fresh and ready again after our midterm break, aren't we? Of course we are. We're now in the season of Lent, which began on Wednesday. And Wednesday was Ash Wednesday, and that marks the beginning of Lent. And during Lent, you can make a little Lenten promise, where you can promise to give something up, or you can promise to do something extra. Now, when I say do something extra, I don't mean eat extra chocolate, although that would be a lovely one to do, wouldn't it? But what I mean is you could give something up, like chocolate and biscuits, things like that. That's what I'm giving up for Lent. And it's very hard. I haven't broken it yet, so I'm just going to try my best to keep that Lenten promise. Or you could promise to do something extra. So you could help maybe mummy around the house a bit more, maybe make your bed every morning. Or even a lovely one would be just to say a little prayer for someone every day. That would be a lovely Lenten promise. So make sure that you have one. If you haven't done one yet, it's a little bit late, but better late than never to begin to follow a little Lenten promise. Okay, so it is Monday. So let's look at our date and get started. It is Monday, the 22nd of February, 2021. And as you know, every morning, we need to write our date. Monday, the 22nd of February, 2021. So once we have written our date, we move on to our spellings. Just make sure you're on the right page there. It's week 6. You'll see the date at the top. And this week we are practicing the A sound. And the A sound is made in many different ways. So the ways that we're going to look at mainly this week are AI, AY, A hop over E, which just means that there's a letter in between the A and the E, and the letter A on its own. Now the letter A on its own in a word usually makes an A sound, but sometimes it does make an A sound. So let's look at some examples of these sounds. So our first 3 words have the AI method of making the A sound. So we've got rain, paint, and train. Then for AY, we have away, stay, and holiday. For A hop over E, we have it. You'll see there the T in between the A and the E. Came, gave, and place. Then at the bottom here, we have the A on its own, making that A sound, baby, and later. Now, question 1, as always, asks you to go through each word in the word list. And some of these words are our spellings, but as you know, I don't give you all of the words because that would be really mean to try and learn all of those. But what you do is you go through each word and you underline the A sound wherever you see it. So it might be AY, it might be A hop over E. So there's A and an E with a letter in the middle. That's A hop over E. So you can just underline the whole thing if you want. Okay, because the sound has been made by the A and the E, and then there's a letter in between. So just go through each word and underline where you see the A sound, and it'll be made in lots of different ways. All right. Now, question 1 also asks you if you can spot any other ways that the A sound is made. Any other ways that aren't listed in our sound box up at the top here. Now, I'm going to help you with that one because you are only P4, and I think that is a very tricky question for you to find another way that the A sound is made. But if you want to have a go yourself first, you could pause the video now before I tell you. So, the word 80 here. There's an A sound at the start and it's made with an EI. So that's very unusual. That's different from all the other words. All the other words have the sound made in one of these ways, but EI is different. So we're going to put that EI sound up here. That's a new way we've found of making the A sound. And then we're going to write 80 in here, because that is the word where we find the A sound. So that's just another way of making the A sound, and that's the word we find it in. Okay. Question 2 then has little drawings of snails. You can see them there. And inside each snail is a little picture. So when you say the names of these pictures, Some of them will have an A sound and some of them won't. Some of them might have an R sound or an A sound, so you need to listen to them very carefully. And if the words have an A sound, if you can hear that A in the word, you colour in the snail and the picture. If you can't hear that A sound, you don't colour it in. So I'm going to go through the names of all of these items, and you listen carefully as I say them and see if you can hear me making that A sound. Cake, plane, plant, train, shark, spade. So I'll give you a clue. There are two of those snails which you will not colour in, okay, and the rest you will. 4 of those pictures have the A sound and 2 of them do not. Now we're going to go on to doing our dots. Now, a couple of new people have joined us in Dojo, so I'm going to explain this again to you, just in case some of you don't understand. So the question asks you to draw a dot underneath the snail for each sound in the picture name. So what does that mean? Well, each word is made up of a number of sounds. And each time you hear a sound, you put a dot down. So for example, cake. K, A, K. It has 3 sounds. So it's not the number of letters in the word, it's the number of sounds in it. K, A, K, cake. So I'm going to go through the rest of these pictures and I'm going to name them and I'm going to sound them out. So every time you hear me saying a sound, you put a dot, just like I did for cake. K, A, K, cake. Plane. P, O, A, N. Plant. P, O, A, N, T. Train. T, R, A, N. Shark. Sh, R, K. Spade. S, P, A, D. Okay, very good. And we'll move on to the next part then tomorrow, okay? Now for our literacy today, we are looking at homophones. And we're looking again at 2, 2 and 2. Now we looked at this last week, so you probably, or the week before last I should say. So you'll probably remember it pretty well. And there's little sentences here to help you to remember which 2 is used in which sentence. So for example, this is the one I call the normal 2, the 2 that you would use most of the time. I am going to the cinema. So it's kind of like a directional 2. It describes where you're going or what you're doing. I am going to the cinema. Now, TOO has 2 meanings, just to confuse you. TOO can mean more than you need or more than you want. So, for example, it is too wet to play outside, so it's wetter than you wanted or needed. It is too something. You could be too full or too hungry or too tired for something. Next one. Then the other way the 2 is used is to mean also. Can I come along too, please? Can I come along also, please? So it can mean more than you need or more than you want, or it can mean also. All right? It is too wet to play. Can I come along too? TWO then just simply means the number 2. There were 2 fish in the bowl. So if you mean the number 2, you would write TWO. So let's read through the sentences, and I'll just say 2 each time, but I won't tell you which 2 I'm saying. And then I want you to fill those in yourself, all right? There were 2 cookies left in the tin. I usually go to my grand's house at the weekend. Question 3. I didn't need my coat today as it was too hot. I can paint well, but I am good at drawing too. I like going to the park with my friends. Now we're on to question 6 now, and it has 2 spaces, so you're going to have to put 2 in twice, and they're different 2s from each other, all right? Can we take 2 presents to the party? I am full because I ate too much. I have 2 cats and 1 dog. All right, so you just pop the correct 2 into the spaces. Moving on to our maths then, boys and girls, and we are continuing to look at data handling. And we have data handling, as you may remember, is just different ways of showing information. So far we have looked at Carroll diagrams here. Do you remember those? And then before that we looked at pictograms. And before that we looked at bar charts. And at the very start we just looked at a little table of information. Today we are looking at another way to show information, and this way is called a Venn diagram. So when you see these big circles, you know you're looking at a Venn diagram, all right? Now, you'll see that there's a yellow circle and a blue circle, and in the middle, the circles have overlapped and they've joined together. So when we have red and blue, we get green. So they've shown this middle bit as green. Now, if you were drawing your own Venn diagram, you wouldn't have to colour it in or anything, but they're just doing it there to show you as clearly as they can how to lay out the numbers. So, in your pack, you will have been given a times table sheet. So you'll need to take that out really for all of your work this week, starting with today. So if you want to pause the video and have this little sheet just beside you, because you will need it today. And as you look, you'll see all the times tables that we have covered so far in P4. 1 times tables, 2 times tables, 3 times tables, 4 times tables, the 5 times tables, and the 10 times tables. And sometimes people wonder why we don't do the 6, 7, and 8s and 9s before the 10s. But as you know, boys and girls, the 10 times tables are actually much easier. They're easy peasy. So those are the ones that we've covered, the ones that have the little purple star at the side of them, okay? So that's the ones you need to practice this week. So anytime you get a chance, practice either using Hit the Button online or just using this sheet. Practice saying aloud your times tables over and over again as much as you can, okay? But you have this here to refer to if you need it. Now, you see in the yellow circle there are 4 numbers. There's 25, 5, 30 and 10. And also belonging to the yellow circle is these 2 numbers as well, 65 and 80. They belong to both circles. Now, those are multiples of 5. Okay, so all of those numbers there are multiples of 5. And you'll see that in your 5 times tables, we know lots of multiples of 5 because all the answers in the 5 times tables are multiples of 5. So 10 is a multiple of 5, 30 is a multiple of 5, and so on. In fact, boys and girls, as you may know, any number in the world ending in 0 or 5 is a multiple of 5. So even 1,000,005 would be a multiple of 5 because it ends in 5. Now, all of these numbers then are multiples of 5, including the 65 and the 80. Now in the blue circle, which also includes the green bit again, you have numbers that are greater than 50. So numbers that are bigger than 50. You've got 73 there, you've got 87, 51, 98, 65 and 80. So 65 and 80 belong to this group and it belong to this group. So it goes in the middle. 65 is a multiple of 5 and it's greater than 50, so it goes in the middle. 80 ends in 0, so it's also a multiple of 5 and it's greater than 50, so it goes in the middle. Okay, so if they belong to both groups, if they could go in there and there, they go in the middle. Now, question 1 asks you to think of 3 more numbers, 3 other numbers for each group. So you have to think of 3 numbers that you could think of that would go into the yellow circle, multiples of 5. Okay, now we don't want them to go into the middle. We don't want them to be bigger than 50. So let's go to our 5 times tables and see which we could pick. We can't pick 5, it's already in the circle. We can't pick 10. Look, there's some more that we could use. So we're going to pick 3 of these that would go into the yellow circle. Now you don't have to draw the Venn diagram. You can just write yellow and then your 3 numbers. All right. Then you have to think of 3 numbers that would go into the blue circle. So let's remember what the blue circle said. Numbers greater than 50. Okay, so any number that is greater than 50, you just have to think of 3 of them. They could go in there. Now, as long as they don't end in 5 and 0, because those ones are going to go in the middle, aren't they? And finally, the green part, the middle part, you have to think of 3 numbers that are multiples of 5 and greater than 50. Okay, so for example, greater than 50, we could go with 55 and with 60. And can you think of any other number that ends in 0 and 5 or 5 and is bigger than 50? You have a think about that one. Question B then asks you, in which part should 50 go? So the actual number 50, where would it go? Could it go into multiples of 5? Is 50 greater than 50? You have a think and decide where 50 would go. And then you just write the name of the colour in which it would go. Would it go in yellow, green or blue? Now, in part 2A, in part 2, all of it in fact, you will be asked to draw a Venn diagram, all right? So, if you can get a big sheet of paper, because you want it quite big so you can fit your numbers in. So I've just used the back of this times table sheet, but you can use whatever you want, just to draw 2 big circles, okay? Because you're going to be asked to draw those shortly. Now, question 2A says, list these numbers, 8, 23, 32 and 71. So I've written those down at the top of my page. And then it asked me to write 12 more numbers that are less than 80. So any 12 numbers that are less than 80. So I'm now going to add 12 more numbers to my list. So there I have it, a big long list of numbers. I'll have 16 numbers altogether. So I have the 4 numbers that they've given me, and then I've added 12 more of my own, and the only rule was that they had to be less than 80. All right. So once you've that done, I want you to draw out your Venn diagram, and I want you to put these 2 headings on each side. Now you'll see they're on your maths page as well. Numbers between 20 and 60 on one side, and multiples of 4 on the other side. Now we're going to skip question B. We're going to go straight on to C. So don't worry about question B. It has the name of the headings of your Venn diagram, but you don't need to sort the numbers yet. You're going to sort them here. Okay? So you're going to draw your Venn diagram, as I said. Put the 2 headings on. Numbers between 20 and 60. Multiples of 4. And once you've done that, we're going to start to sort our numbers into the correct circles, or correct parts of the circle. Okay, so I'm going to go through the first few with you, and then you'll have different numbers after that, so you can go through them yourself as well. So we'll start with 8. So I'm going to cross it out to show that I've used it. 8. Now, is 8 between 20 and 60? No. Is it a multiple of 4? Oh, definitely. 2 4s are 8, so 8 is going to go in here. All right. 23. Now, is 23 a number between 20 and 60? Yes, 23 is between 20 and 60. Is it a multiple of 4? No, because it doesn't end in an even number, and answers in the 4 times tables always end in an even number. So it would go over here. So we'll write 23 in here. 20, oops, put my 3 down first. 23. Okay, 32. Now, 32 sounds familiar. So let's take a peek over this page to our 4 times tables. Here we are. Oh, I knew it sounded familiar. Look, 8 times 4 is 32. There we go, 32. So it is a multiple of 4. Now, what was the other heading? Numbers between 20 and 60? Yes, 32 is between 20 and 60. and it is a multiple of 4, so it goes in the middle. And one more, 71. Now, is 71 between 20 and 60? Nope. Is it a multiple of 4? Does it end in an even number? No. So what are we going to do with it? It doesn't belong here or here, which means it definitely doesn't belong here. So then it has to go outside the circle, right here, okay? So it goes outside the circle. If it doesn't belong to each group, it has to go outside. You still write it down, but you just don't write it in the circles, okay? Now, work your way through your numbers. As I say, you have your own numbers. You don't need to use mine if you don't want to. And just put them into the right places. So they either go here, 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 or outside the circles. All right. And your final question asks you, which numbers did not fit inside the circles? Why not? So we've just talked about that. So you may have more numbers than just 71. You may have 3 or 4 numbers that did not fit in the circle. So you just list those numbers and then you explain why they didn't fit inside the circle. And they didn't fit because they weren't between 20 and 60 and they weren't multiples of 4. All right? So boys and girls, you'll be glad to hear that I've nearly finished talking. That's your written work for today. Continue on as well with accelerated reading and SumDog, and I'll talk to you tomorrow. Okay? Bye-bye.